Howdy, folks. So, as promised, here is my first Let's Play Activision video. I had played some Activision games in my first 2600 plus unboxing video, but I wanted to give them kind of special spotlight because Activision games, for various reasons, for many reasons I should say, are some of the most highly regarded on the Atari 2600 plus. I personally enjoyed those probably more than any others. Although I did have some other third-party published games. Activision titles were they were kind of like the top tier. That was what you were aiming for, really. The culture at Activision was kind of like it was like an idealized version of what the programmers who quit Atari to form it wanted to have Atari be more like. If you look at interviews from the Atari 50 collection, you'll see that there were some people who didn't really care for management at Atari. They were kind of treated like regular employees, despite the fact that the unique nature of the business of selling a video games console and having to produce product for it meant that in many cases, you would have one individual that was the designer and the programmer for a game. And so the guys who quit to form Activision were unhappy with the fact that they didn't get more recognition for that. Now, the artwork on the Activision boxes, I remember as a kid, I mean, the Atari ones, beautiful stuff. They really had wonderful artwork, but one of the criticisms was that the artwork on the box didn't give you any idea of what the actual game was like. So needless to say, you see this beautiful oil painting with like a wizard and all this kind of stuff on it, and then you play a game that has a bunch of very blocky characters and bleep bloop sound effects. You're going to be a little bit disappointed potentially, especially if you're a young child, captivated with this idea of these fantastic worlds and things that you can explore on your TV with this little wood grain box. So Activision, although it had some, cartoony artwork, it was much more in line with what was there. Now, I don't have any Activision boxes yet. I have a complete in-box copy of Robot Tank coming my way this week, upcoming. But that will be in a future video. But I do have a printout of a color scan of the manual, and as you can see, this is fairly close to, if not exactly the same as the artwork on the box, with the trademark Activision rainbow following Pitfall Harry. Now, one of the complaints about the programmers was not having recognition, and what I remember very clearly is all the manuals that you would get with Activision games always had a page in the back. In this case, the designer is David Crane, and so you get a little blurb about David Crane being the designer. He also did Dragster, Fishing Derby, Laser Blast, Freeway, and Grand Prix for Activision. Well, to this date, and I'm pretty sure he did more games than that. And his tips on how to play. So, really good quality artwork. The cartridges themselves, this is barnstorming, this one might be hard to tell. For whatever reason, the Activision labels are probably the worst in terms of longevity. I'm sure that when the carts were first created, everyone was thinking people will be playing these in 40 years, and we better make sure we have the best quality printing and adhesives used. All of these are distressed in some way, and in some cases the adhesive actually came off enough that I had a little flap, the end label was kind of flapping off, and I used a piece of double-sided sellotape to nail that down. All right, you might be able to tell in the Pitfall one. So there's a picture of the actual game, but below it there is also, it tells you one player at a time using left joystick controller. And some of the other games, in cases where like River Raid, for example. I don't know if you can read this, but it says game 1, 1 player, game 2, 2 players. Most of the Activision games don't use different game modes and don't often use the difficulty switches either. This one does, however, indicate different game modes. And this is normal across all of these. Every one of these, the label will, if there's multiple games, it will tell you what they are. There's quite a number of them in Freeway, a number of game modes, so they aren't listed here. And in a lot of these, there aren't different game modes. You just pop the card in and there you go. So that's kind of a nice feature. Anyway, without further ado, let's play some Atari. You'll see that my carts are all nicely stacked here. That's because Activision, I think, is unique among Atari cartridge manufacturers and making carts that actually stack. The top part where the label side is has 2 little grooves on either side, and the bottom of the cart has 2 little projections so that you can lock them together. Pretty cool. In addition to which, there's some nice little grooves around the edge so that you can grip, and of course it has the Activision logo and relief on the bottom. The first thing, I'm just going to do them straight alpha. This is not my entire Activision card collection. I just wanted to pick out 9 games to go through. A balance I'll leave for a future video in which I'll also pick up the handful of original Atari carts that I did not do last time because I was trying to have a theme of arcade ports. Now, many people have problems with these carts. Activision carts are apparently the tiny bit thinner printed circuit board inside. I have read that in the early days, and I can't honestly remember if this was true of any of the ones that I owned, they had a foam insert as well because their contacts are apparently on the PCB are also partially covered up, or less of them are exposed, so that more of the cartridge goes into the slot and bypasses the actual contact pickups that are inside the slot in the Atari, so that the game isn't being read properly. And there's various ways people compensated for this. I can remember back in the day, this by the way is not unique to 2600 plus, although I have read indications that because this machine can read both Atari games and 7800 games, 2600 and 7800 games, the slot is a bit larger. The 7800 has a couple extra prongs on either side. There's 2 extra sets of contacts that are not present in a 2600 cart, and that this may have exacerbated this issue. But some people will do things like this, where they'll press it down a bit on the cartridge, try to get it connected. Other things people have tried is to wiggle it out a little bit. I have had really good success with these, and there's more extreme stuff as well. So check the Atari Age forums if you have real problems, but for my money, isopropyl alcohol and a cotton swab has done the trick for me. When you're cleaning with those, make sure you're doing the top edge and the bottom edge, right? Top and bottom side of the PCB. But doing stuff like taking this thing apart and scraping off some of the green material of the PCB covering the contact seems a bit extreme to me and is potentially going to cause future problems. The fact is, these things were made 40 years ago. They weren't made to last forever. And as much as I enjoy the 2600 plus and that, will I still be able to play these games in a decade? I don't know. I mean, we'll find out, I suppose. You know, if I'm still vertical in a decade. Anyway, so this is barnstorming. One of the things about, and I'm going to try to just hot swap these cards as much as it bothers me, just to see if I can make the timing a little tighter on this, since there's apparently no harm in it. One thing about Activision games that I think was a part of their ethos was, you know, encouraging designers to come up with unique and interesting games. So as a consequence, you have a lot of concepts in Activision games are mechanics that are themes that don't exist in other third-party titles or other Atari games. A lot of what we see in these games from third parties and from Atari themselves, they tend to be shooters. They tend to be games where you're running around a maze, and sometimes running around a maze shooting at things, or some kind of Pong variant, or something that mixes things up amongst these things. And that's fine, and I do like a lot of these games, but Activision did some really funky stuff, like games like Barnstorming, or Fishing Derby, which I think is the first fishing game anyone attempted. Some of these game ideas, are very unconventional, shall we say, but they gave people the time, the space to say, hey, give it a go. Let's see if it's something fun, and came up with some interesting ideas. The other thing about Activision games is a lot of them, as simple as they are, and Barnstorming is exceedingly simple, very straightforward. It's not just the fact that they have this concept that's a little unusual for a video game, but the attention to detail and the quality, how it looks, how it controls. There's loads of little touches in it, which we're going to see. So I'm going to do the basic, game one, which is not a very long duration. The basic goal of this game is to fly through barns. That's it. You fly through barns as many times as you can before the time is up. Press the button. Oh, I'm right off and pressing the joystick the wrong way. I missed a barn. But you go up and down. Now you do a higher difficulty switch. The barn opening is a little more restrictive. So you have to be right in the red part of the barn. And you'll see there's geese flying by. They will slow you down a bit if you hit them. And you want to avoid the windmills, and that's it. If you play higher difficulty, it is a little trickier because you've got to get it right in there. I'm not a big fan of that myself. I think it's sufficiently challenging without restricting the opening of the barn. And that's it. I mean, that's the game. I mean, that was 43 seconds. So it's hitting more of the barns extends your playtime. It's one of those kind of games where the better you do, the longer you can go on for. But you'll notice that like the propeller on the plane had a little flickering to give you the impression that it's spinning. You had the geese flying. There's a little sunset in the mountains in the background. It's just a nice, I find the aesthetic of Activision games quite appealing. So we're going to just pull this out, which feels horribly wrong. Next one. This is a game that I used to play obsessively. A friend of mine had this. I never owned this game. And a friend of mine, I used to summer in rural Illinois in a wee town, city, I don't know. The definition of what a city is in the United States is a bit loose. Population 10,000, is that a city? Called Streator, Illinois, about 200 miles southwest of Chicago. And the summers were unbearably hot. So everybody would live in their basement basically during that time. And this friend of mine had a TV down there. He had an Atari 2600 and he had an Atari 400. And I have pre-ordered the 400 Mini, by the way, and I will be doing an unboxing video of that, and I will be playing some 5200 and 8-bit games, trying to see how ROMs load on that thing. So look out for that in a couple months when that releases at the end of March. Anyway, Enduro, we used to play this quite obsessively, trying to see how many days we could get through. I don't know how I'm going to do today. I actually had forgotten about the concept of how many days until reading the thread about Activision patches, which was another thing they did was pretty fun. So Activision games, a number of them had patches that you could earn, and the manual would tell you, well, if you get this score or something like that, take a photograph of your TV screen and post it to this address, and you'll be a member of the, whatever term they came up with for the club. Just a little bragging rights thing, but they would actually have a fabric patch that they would send you that you could then iron on, to your denim jacket or whatever. Pretty cool, actually. It was just another thing that Activision was doing to, be fun, basically. Kind of stuff that Atari kind of went over the top with their whole Earth World, Fire World, Air World thing. The contest they did later. But this was something that, and I remember playing a game that's coming up in the rotation here, Laser Blast, and sending my picture in. But I think I was late to the Atari 2600 game. I got my 2600 right before the video game crashed. So I think it was probably the end or middle of 1982. So, games like Enduro, I don't even remember seeing in the shop. But this is a fun racing game. It's, it's not like it's endless basically. So it's kind of like the Activision version of Le Mans. Think of it like that. So let's go. So the goal of this is to pass all these cars. You can see there's a little car symbol on the bottom of that display. So I got to pass 200 cars before sundown. So we're here at dawn. Okay. And this is one of these games that you've got to kind of be in the zone. The cars kind of fly at you pretty fast. You really don't want to be smashing into them because it slows you down quite a bit. You got to do a little bit of throttle control, like I had to do with Barnstorming, where you're pushing the button down and letting your finger off of it. Give you a chance to breathe. Okay, now we got snow. And the snow makes your car, it slides a little bit. Oop. You want to take it easy. Some of the corners. So this is, a lot of people play racing games and it's just throttle open and that's it. But Enduro is definitely not a game. If you play where you just hold the button down the whole time and you're just constantly accelerating, you will not get through the first day. Now, in order to, it's getting darker, so you go through. Come on now. I said sundown the next day. Actually, we're trying to get through this before dawn, I think. Last it. 67 cars ago. Usually if I'm really kind of, like I said, I forgot about this, and there's a thread in the forums, people are talking about Activision patches. And someone mentioned that they had the patch for this, and 5 days, and I'm like thinking days, what? But yeah, so right now it's at nighttime, and then we're going to have, dawn. If I let the throttle off there, I could have got around that car. And when the sun starts to come up, first, it's going to be foggy, and then after that, we'll be in like a kind of a, hey, there you go, so I did it. This is a much better outcome than the one that I passed. So the green flags mean that I've finished day one. So it is going to go through to the next day. Now, if you don't actually manage to pass all those cars, the 200 cars, then what happens is the game just ends. If you get the sun up and you haven't passed all the cars, that's the game for you. I think the number of cars the next day is going to go up, but it's not going to start counting at until it actually is the next day. So passing these cars right now, not terribly important, to be honest. I'm just trying to see how far I get mileage-wise. Alright, sun's starting to come up. But in order to get the patch for this one, you got to do 5 days. I mean, that's, most Atari games don't have an end as such. They just kind of eventually beat you into submission. the idea of having this cycle and actually playing like a single game for an extended period of time is kind of unusual. The number of cars has gone up, so what was it, 275 or something like that? Now I need to get through this. And it's very unlikely. I mean, I'm going to get to day 3, but I only missed day 3 when I did the day 1, which was a couple of weeks ago. Well, it's something last week, maybe. But I missed it by 8 cars, so you never know. Alright, we're in the snow. Oh, come on now. See, I haven't even gotten past the first 200 yet, so... Oh. Snow is unforgiving. Or at least you can't, like, actually go off the track. And I like the fact that, incidentally, I'm just pressing and releasing the accelerator, but you can brake by pulling back on the stick. I just don't generally use the brakes when I drive in real life. That's how I get where I'm going so quickly. Don't use the brakes. Just take your foot on and off the accelerator, right? I'm sure there are people out there who have those electric cars with that automatic braking system, which, not for me. I want to push on a pedal, thank you very much. And we'll do the regenerative braking that way. Having a car brake for me just because I take my foot off the gas, not a habit I want to perform. But future generations may find that more effective. But in enduro, it's a way of life, right? You just take your foot off the gas and it gives you enough of a decel that you can kind of maneuver a little bit. Now this is a lot, you feel a little more because it is just like back and forth on this one axis and you're not using a paddle. I mean, I'm surprised this game doesn't support a paddle, frankly, but I do, compared to Night Drive, this is like sanity. I mean, Night Drive is complete lunacy. This has like steady white lines, there's not these flashing poles coming at you in trees and giant honking cars. It's a little easier to keep a grip on what you're doing. Come on now. 50 cars left. I'm not going to make it, obviously. I made it through the fog, but sun-up's right around the corner. Let's see how close I can get, though. Oh, you... Come on. I'm going to get it to single digits at least. And I am just holding the button down. Oh, come on. Oh, 5. So close. I had 4 for a split second there. 273.9 miles, though. I feel proud. Oh, I'm not turning the thing off. I'm just going to pull the card. Well, I don't like this. The way it comes up, it tries to load like right away. It just like failed because there's nothing in there. This one, I actually haven't taken the sticker off yet. $1.99 I paid for Fishing Derby. Pretty cool. You'll notice when I'm putting the card in, I'm kind of giving it a little rock. That's another top tip with these Activision cards, is to kind of like put it in, not straight in. Just, I mean, I can put them straight in most of the time, but I have one of them, a copy of Star Master. It's a bit finicky. And Fishing Derby. You're not playing right, I can tell. Try it again, guys. Oh, there's a little flicker at the bottom. Wow, that's cool. Let's try that again. This is you'll see with the Activision cards, every other game I've played, pretty much, on these videos. comes up. It's fine. But Activision carts, man, which of course, people are going to get a bit about because they're so beloved. So a lot of people, want to play these games. They buy this machine, and then they have these problems. And if you've never had an Atari, if you had an Atari 2600, in the early 80s, then you'll know that Activision carts were a pain in the ass and didn't always do what they were supposed to do. I can remember myself putting in Mega Mania and holding the cart down in the slot, trying to get it to hit the contacts or whatever. All right, let's try a full reboot of the machine. Fishing Derby, there's a number of these, like Fishing Derby, that I originally, when I first tried firing up this thing, before I had the alcohol and tried to clean the thing, I actually thought, I got a bunch of duffers here. I thought I was going to have to get rid of them. And then I kept trying to reseat the cart over and over again, and eventually, boom, worked. This one is being really problematic. Like I'm blowing it, that's the magic, right? The magic solution. Blow in the cart. Everybody tells you, blowing in the cart doesn't work. It's got nothing to do with that. And yet, here's the proof, folks. You saw me. I blew in the cart, plugged it in, worked. So that's science. Forget the people talking about, that doesn't do nothing. I beg to differ. All right. Now, this is a game that's best played with 2 players. And the reason is because this freaking AI guy cheats. And I'm going to show you, the game cheats in the favor of the AI guy. Now, you got a bunch of things. You got a fish, you got a shark. So the goal is to try to get the fish and reel them in before the shark gets them, without the shark getting them. Now, one thing I want you to notice here, the amount of points you get for the fish is higher the lower down they are. But notice that the one that's at the bottom of the screen, the one that's worth the most, the shark got my fish. The one that's worth the most tends to hang out on the side of the screen with the AI fisherman. How whack is that? Like there's like no chance. This is as far out as my pole goes. I guarantee you, if that fish comes up my side of the screen, it's going to be pretty rare. So you can extend the pole forward and back, and then you catch your fish. The shark is really fast at eating your fish. I'm not sure where we're fishing that you could have 2 piers like this and have a shark. Clearly, we are not in Lake Michigan or one of the other Great Lakes. More likely, a narrow isthmus, some kind of, I don't know where we would be, but you'd have the ability to fish in the ocean. I mean, I guess it could be a freshwater dogfish or something like that. But I have no chance of beating this freaking AI. I mean, it's really not a fair fight at all. He's got all the deepest fish on his side. Occasionally they'll come through. Come on. But I do enjoy this. It has a kind of a zen-like relaxation to it, other than when you're reeling up and the shark is heading towards your way and you've realized, I've gone too far. The fish is going to, because the fish comes up whether I touch it or not. I can reel it up faster, but it'll come my way. Once I hook it, it's going to come there. So, the shark is just like not, doesn't want any of the AI fish. Nope. Just mine. Just mine. Look at that. He's got twice my freaking score. Unbelievable. And again, the most, the bottom fish I think is worth 10 points or something. I can't get a look in. Oh, this shark is manic. He's going to... Come on. I'm never going to catch up. I'm pretty sure that the game ends at whoever gets 100 points first, so the computer's going to get this one. He's going to reel it. Look at it. He went even for the bottom one. Completely egregious. He could have gone the top one and still won. But no. You got to rub it in my face. Not as sinister as Skynet. but really annoying. I guess also like Scotland. Okay, so that's that. Now this is a game that confused the heck out of me as a kid. Well, this is Freeway. Now Freeway, I remember seeing after Frogger came out. Now Frogger is pretty basic. It's, get the frog from this side to that side, avoiding hazards on the way. And this is a take on, this game was inspired by the classic, why did the chicken cross the road? Well, in this case, we still don't have an answer to that, but that's what you're doing. You're the chicken and you're crossing the road. Now there's a bunch of different game modes on here. They are amusingly named for different famous roadways in various American cities. So you have Lakeshore Drive in Chicago, and well, that's the only one that I can think of off the top of my head, but that's fine. But I'll just fire it up. So this is a game that's 1 or 2 player. It is 2 player all the time, basically. If you're playing 1 player, you're just playing against yourself. The whole thing is to try to cross the road as many times as you can in a certain time period. I think that, if I remember correctly, the manual says that a good score is something like either above 32 or 25, something like that. But one thing that's probably not clear from what I'm doing here is that there is no left-right movement. You can go up, you can go forward, up and down. That's it. And having played Frogger and having, I'm holding a 4-way joystick here, why the heck can't I go left and right to dodge these cars? That always made no sense to me. However, as an adult with a little more patience, I appreciate the mechanic, the simplicity of going forward and backward. Now I will probably not get hit by a car, or I'll try not to. But if I do, the chicken doesn't die. So, suitable for young children. You just get, if you get hit by a car, you just get knocked back. Here, I'll do it. Oh no, I went back a few lanes. And you flap your wings in frustration. But the different roads and that, it's like, such and such freeway in Washington, D.C. at rush hour. The different times of day. And there'll be more cars and higher difficulties. There's more cars. They have different patterns. There'll be lorries. Some of there's like 1 or 2 levels. It's all lorries, which would be like my freaking nightmare if you've had any experience driving the motorways in the UK, or certainly that's definitely Scotland. We don't have. Parts of. It's flashing, so we're getting towards the end here. But in Scotland, we don't, the parts of the M8, which is the main, the biggest motorway connecting Glasgow to Edinburgh, so east and west coast, basically. Parts of it are 3 lanes, but it doesn't go 3 lanes all the way through. So you are pretty much dealing with 2 lane each direction, a dual carriageway, as we would say. And as a consequence, if you have a lorry in the slow lane, well, lorries cause problems because of the fact that they're taking up half the roadway. What's even worse, though, is when you're in rush hour, invariably on an uphill grade, you'll have some knucklehead driving one of these things trying to overtake another one. And in the UK, they're all speed limited to, speed limit here is 70. I think they're speed limited to 55. So you'll have one guy that's going like 2 miles an hour faster than another one in front of him, and they tailgate each other, so they can't freaking, which I'm just like, when's the automation coming? You might as well have a computer drive it at that point if you're going to do crazy stuff like that. But they'll be they'll start overtaking on an uphill grade, even though they're driving like this big diesel engine. Anyway, I digress. I don't like them. I'd rather we had dirigibles. I would gladly have longer postage shipping times in exchange for less lorries on the road. And if you drive one for a living, I've offended you. Let me know in the comments, and I don't care. I still want you off the road. Right, so this is Keystone Capers, inspired by the old black and white silent Keystone Cops back in the day when cops were just universally the subject of mockery, and rightly so. And so we are trying to catch, you might have seen him in the beginning of the attract mode, the bank robber, represented on the radar at the bottom of the screen. Again, I love the use of radar in these games. The gray box in the middle is showing you the lift that's going up and down between the 3 floors. You are the black square, the white square is the robber. You are in a shop, a department store presumably, with multiple levels trying to pursue him. And there are obstacles on the way. And this does not have multiple things or anything. This is the game. Press the button, do nothing, hit the reset switch. So we start out, there's a bouncing ball. So there's little suitcases and bags of money that the robber, I guess, forgot. I don't know, but you pick them up. Those are pickups for your score. And you run along. You can see, hopefully, that if I time this right, I can jump off the escalator. You might see a flashing line in front of my face. That's my billy club. Now, I did pass the lift there. This is a strategy thing. Taking a lift from the bottom level to the middle makes sense. From the middle to the top is not a good move, because as soon as your lift gets up to that floor, he will turn around and go back down. And he, unlike you, can take the escalator down, presumably. So we just do this, we rinse, wash, and repeat, and the obstacles become more plentiful and more difficult to surpass. So you can see we have large radio sets. Now, that's what those things, those black things are, with the little lines coming out of them representing music. But the only music I get to hear is the shuffling of my own footsteps. Now, some of these things, like the ball and like the radios, when you run into them, they will disappear. And you'll just respawn and carry on, having lost, being penalized a few seconds. Because you'll notice below my score is a black number, which represents the time I have to catch this guy. So now we have a shopping trolley that flies along. You have to jump over that. Oh, there's a lift. Up, and I got in the lift. Press up to get into the lift. I get down. Now, if I went up to the top one, he would probably turn around, and then I'd have to go back and I'd have to get in the lift again. So, waste of time. But this is one of those games I remember playing this obsessively as well with my friend in Illinois. And I always like to jump and tackle him in the head. Because the whole thing is like, well, I got 3 lives. Oh, now this is, most of these things, like the radio and the bouncing ball, those will just slow you down. You'll get penalized and respawn. The model plane will kill you. You'll lose a life for hitting that thing. And I'm not sure about the shopping trolley. Nope, I didn't quite clear it. Look at that. Penalized. Oh, and I hit the plane. Also penalized. Keep forgetting. They time it. You have to duck twice. You can't get away with ducking once with this thing. Oh, the shopping trolley, that you can get away with. Alright, you got it. Oh, I didn't time it right. If you time it right, you get to jump off. I don't think it actually helps you timing-wise, but it just feels like, da-da-da, I'm gonna get him. But the animations are cool, you know, all the things you can see that are coming your way. I do think it's a bit goofy that the robber, who I appreciate, is wearing his prison stripes. Although so I guess he's an ex-con and just broke out and decided first thing I'm going to do is, after my prison break, is I'm going to rob a department store. I'm going to get a change of clothes. He actually got all the way to the top level that time. Haven't had him actually get away. Usually what happens is I run out of time. Oh, now the ball, it's too close. Ball's bouncing higher now, so you have to duck under it, but it's a little tricky timing that. Alright, there he is, my nemesis, my prey. I will have him. But it's really goofy. I don't think I've ever actually seen the transition, but, come on. Forgot to duck. But when the guy, the bank robber, if you do cause him to turn around because you grabbed the lift and you went up to the top or something, then you can't get to the screen for him going down. Because you're like, the escalator's going up, how's he getting on the lower level? He just magically appears there. In fact, I missed it. I was going to try and trip it. So it's really annoying. You'll be running after him and you get to the escalator screen and you just see him on the level below you. And of course, it's an up escalator, so you can't follow him that way. You can't run down the up escalator, so you just end up running backwards like a Muppet. I don't think I'm going to hit him this time. I think that thing, shopping trolley or whatever I collided with, Oh, yes! I actually got him. Whoa, that was amazing. Split second. Now that's a kind of cool thing I would expect to see in a more modern arcade game, where it gives you that little bit of forgiveness. You really should have lost, but they give you a little grace so you can feel that sense of achievement just squeaking by. Alright, that's how I'm going to get into the lift. So you see on the radar, he's going backwards. Oh, I hit the thing. I'm going to lose this one for sure. Because it's really disoriented. Oh, and there he is. He goes back. He's going back the other way. There's no way I can catch him. When the heck did this I don't remember two radios being there before when I went by that way. They just materialized. And notice he doesn't have to jump over anything. Yeah, I'm not going to get him. Come on, at least let me get the lift. I at least want to pretend that I have a chance. No? Whatever. Shame on you, Larry Kitchen or David Crane or whoever the heck made this game. Oh, yeah, made it. This one's a shooting. Oh, man. I like how both radios disappear even though I only had one of them. Must have been a fire. Yeah, this guy's got no chance of getting away from me this time. Good bonus. Oh, man. Can't get on a lift. This is why we need operators. That's automated. Whoa, faster trolleys this time. Where are they even coming from? Is there like a gun? Like one of those baseball batting cages where it just fires trolleys? See, that one always throws me off. I'm never ready for the two radios, even though they're just sitting there on the ground. Oh, man. That wasn't good at all. The future is not looking bright for Dudley Do right here. Oh, Jiminy. Oh, why did I do that? I was going to do something clever and jump and then duck. Obviously forgetting that the plane isn't moving quite as fast as a shopping trolley, but it's moving pretty fast, so maybe don't do that. All right, Laser Blast. $4.99. I paid for this one. Pre-owned. No kidding. Ooh, this one feels funky. There we go. I don't like that loading game failed. I saw it so many times testing carts when I first got this thing before I got the alcohol to clean the carts with. And man, once I was using that, it was just like, these Activision carts are fine. Who are these people complaining about? All right, Laser Blast. So this is kind of like a reverse Space Invaders. So you're coming down from the top and you're trying to shoot the things. And what I used to love about this, but they're trying to shoot you, so don't get shot. Oh, I got shot. But if you get shot, you can take them out with your dying act. I just used to love the sound and the shot like that. It kind of reminds me of the Defender laser. I always risk getting killed because I want to hear the laser blast. Yeah, it's cool. You can like change the direction. But after a while, you get into a groove where you're just like, one. Oh, I didn't do it right. Where you just kind of go like 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, free guy, 1,000 points. I think the patch score on this one's 10,000, and then there's like a super legendary one. Wait, why am I not? Oh, something's gone wrong. Is this fully inserted? Well, this is where I wish I could pause because the vertical control stopped. Oh, come on. Well, it's just as well because this is a game you can play for a while, but I'm going to reseat this joystick because initially I could control my vertical height. You should be able to move the ship up and down, and that's not working. This is why it's just hot plugging carts. I'm not convinced. I feel like rebooting the machine and giving it a clean start is a solution. Because apparently the settings in that get blown away when this thing gets reset. I've just been reading about people testing out trying to access the live retro menu or retro arch menu, I guess it is, which I think is something to do with the video and all this other jazz IO stuff. This game I really loved, Mega Mania. So it's a great vertical shooter, Space Invaders alike kind of deal. I remember it had TV ads. There was a song, a little jingle. It was like Mega Mania. I don't remember what the line is. I just say it's a game you can play, but that sounds dumb. Of course it's a game you can play. But I remember it being hyped up because of the fact that it's got all these crazy things in it, which, again, is an Atari. Graphical resolution being what it is, use your imagination. I'll tell you what they are as we go, though. But these things are supposed to be hamburgers. Like lots of hamburgers. I mean, they're from outer space, so having the things. You'll notice I can guide my shots a little bit. That's a difficulty switch position. If I switch it the other way, I can do this on the fly. No, I can't do it on the fly. But one of the positions you can guide. Oh no, that's not a thing. It's a game mode. These are supposed to be cheese wheels, I guess. I think that's right. I'm right. Maybe the switch doesn't do it on the fly. Yeah, there's different game modes. One of them you have guided shots, where which I think is what this is on. Game 1, I think is guided. Good sound effects, it's quite satisfying. And you'll notice there's different enemies that have the same little patterns. These are turtles. They do the same thing as the hamburgers. They're gradually getting lower, by the way. So if you don't hit these things, they will eventually come down and smash into you. And these are tires. Not cars, just tires. Now, a lot of these games are ported to other systems. So I think if you had a Mega Mania for Atari 8-bit computers, then what these things are supposed to be would be more clear. So the hamburgers, for example, would be not just one color. You'd actually have a different color for the bun and for the burger part. For some reason, they went for these amusing colors. Are these diamond things? I think they're just diamonds, creatively. But they're really coming down fast. Oh, I'm going back up again. So they weren't going to smash into eventually. I stand corrected. They're benign, other than, firing at me. And these are irons, I think they're supposed to be. They don't really look like irons, but I think that is what they're meant to represent. Is it like head-on view of an iron? I guess. I went for the kamikaze. But you go through like all the things, and then you go through them all again, and they're faster, they shoot faster, or whatever. But I found it satisfying. I like the energy bar. If you keep shooting, you have to let your laser recharge. Now this is a game that I've seen a lot of people have issues with, which I paid $8. Good Lord, from the exchange. The first place I went to, I probably could have got this cheaper at another shop. But the exchange is also in Chicago. Is also where I got my copy of Mousetrap in the Box and my copy of Joust for the 7800. Pretty good shop. It's located near, I can't remember what L station it is. And I remember people saying, oh, it's having audio artifacts and things with this. So either it's a problematic cart or it's a cart that doesn't like firmware. I don't know. But mine never had this problem. So this is a game that you don't have to hit the reset switch or the button. You just start going. Now you notice I have a clock. So I have a 20-minute timer. And I also have lives. Like, isn't one sufficient? I would think lives would be enough. I don't know why we have to have a clock as well. But I'm your Pitfall Harry. So you're trying to find treasures. I can't remember how to get off of this thing. I thought I was pressing the button, but I think I'm supposed to, push down with the stick. This is the trickiest. Oh, I almost made it. You can stand on the back of the alligator's head. It's a safe place, but obviously I didn't do that very well. That was too short. I had to try this again. But what we're trying to do, this is a game that as a kid I thought was I love how the logs just roll over the gaps, like that you fall in them, but the logs are unaffected. But you're trying to find gold bars. Now, what you see below the action, oh man, I wasn't over far enough. 1 pixel and I would have been fine. Yes. So you're trying to find little gold. I'm farting a lot. Sorry, I had beans. That was some lowbrow humor. For those of you that like that, I'm not a big fan, but I can't resist when the game's giving me gold like that. The gold is usually below ground. I think there's silver bars too. No. But what's annoying about this game is you would see stuff like you're running along above and you'd see a gold bar and then you can find a thing to go below, and what you've seen above is not what's actually below you, by the way. It's just kind of a representation or a deliberate mislead, perhaps. David Crane being a sadist. All right, there's a gold bar. It's above ground. I tell a lie. This weird pit. Yes. Now, as a kid, I keep meaning to say this, and I keep failing, as I get distracted by this game. Oh! I used to think that there was a fixed number of gold bars, and you would get the bars, and then you would, get all the bars, and then the game would be over. But it doesn't have an end. It's just one of these. At least as far as I know, you just keep going. I think Pitfall 2 might, which by the way does not work with the 2600 Plus. I don't think with any of the firmware that's currently existing. We don't have a full official update yet, or people beta testing. And hopefully they'll get it to a point where it does everything it needs that we want it to do. I actually own Robot Tank, but it's an NTSC cart, which for some reason doesn't work. You can't even get a usable picture from it. But the PAL version of Robot Tank apparently does. So I happened to see a complete in box on eBay of the PAL cartridge, and I went, you know what, I'll just get it. Which means that when I'm done here, the only cart that I'll have that doesn't actually work, well, it does work, but you can't play the game, is Star Raiders. Which I will put in a future video, but just to show that you can put it in and have it turn on. But because the video touchpad, the keypad for the Atari, originally the video touchpad and later the keypad controller, which does the same function, is not recognized by this guy. Presumably it's whatever retro libraries or something are in here for the I/O stuff. It only knows what this is and the paddle controllers, the CX30 Plus, and that's it. So things like the driving controller, which is got an encoding wheel in it, not a potentiometer, which you use with Indy 500. I don't know if there's, which was the pack-in. I think there might be one or two other games that use that controller. So that's not recognized. The T-pad isn't recognized. The later trackball controller isn't recognized. Not that anything really worked with that anyway, or at least required it. So last, I'm rounding out this video with River Raid. Again, obsessively played this. I'm pretty sure I own this one. I remember playing it quite a lot. Pretty cool little game. So we're flying this plane. You go over the fuel tanks to refuel. You'll see there's a fuel gauge down there, and I'm supposed to be blowing all these things up. Now, right now, the ships and the helicopters are stationary. We have to blow up the bridges, but now that was like a training mission. Press up, I use more fuel, but I can go faster, which is useful to get you out of some tight scrapes. You can press the fire button partway over the fuel tanks. You can have your cake and eat it with the fueling. And you can pull back to throttle down. You see there's a little plane flying across now. To make things extra interesting. And this is a game that there are various knockoffs by other companies of this game type. But it is fairly iconic. I mean, the style of play. The rotors on the helicopters have little waverings in them to, it gives you the impression of the rotor turning. It's kind of cool. The plane has a little bit of detail around the wing. It's got two different colors. I keep miscalculating. Oh, come on now. You can't get past the stupid choppers. Doing pretty good with my fuel account. Oh no, fuel account now. Oh, got a little overzealous there. That's fine. So there you go. There's a little taste of Activision. I've got other Activision games. I should have, in time for the next video, I'll have a working robot tank, a PAL copy. These are all NTSC carts that I picked up in the States. I've still got Kaboom for next time, as well as Sequest, Skyjinx, Spider Fighter, and Star Master. And I'm going to throw in a few Atari carts as well. So stay tuned for next time and keep on gaming.